Hey, welcome on in, trainers. We have all the new cards that were revealed in the trailer, and we're going over some key cards and talking combos as well as what they might bring to the meta. And we're starting off strong with Mega Sceptile, which is literally Mega Blaziken, but as a grass type. If you don't believe me, look at Mega Blaziken. It deals 120 damage and then burns for an additional 20 for a total of 140 damage. Now, if you look at Mega Sceptile here, it deals 130 damage for 2 grass energies. However, discard a grass energy and your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned, so adding a tick damage of 10. The only difference is they don't lose poison unless they PCO, Pokemon Center Lady, or if they retreat. And on top of that, you can compound the damage if you bench a Nihilego, or even 2 of them, gaining the damage all the way up to a max of 160, 190 by the time it's your turn again. So some might even argue that Mega Sceptile EX is better than Mega Blaziken. On top of that, it has access to cards like Quick Grow Extract to help you evolve into this gigantic beast and come in and just start destroying your opponents. I'm really excited to see what Grovyle does. I'm not sure if it's going to have a really cool ability like Ivysaur. I don't think this Pokemon needs it. However, you never know. So already starting off very strong, I think this in a toxic poison deck is going to go crazy. On top of that, you can also Leaf Cape this to take its HP all the way up to 240. And it gets value from Lily as well as Erica. So technically you have 4 supporters that can heal 50 or 60 HP on this Pokemon. Pretty strong, huh? Let me know in the comments what you guys think of this so far. Now let's move on to the next Mega Lucario EX. It's a stage 1 and it has a 2 fighting energy move called Fighting Pulse, deals 90 damage. However, if you have 3 I put 4 fingers. If you have 3 fighting energies, 1 extra fighting energy attached, it'll deal an additional 50, so it's hitting for 140. Or if you have training area, it goes all the way up to 150 for 3, there it is, fighting energy. But that's not all we want to talk about. Let's talk about its pre-evolution, which is really good as well. We have Riolu right here. Let's talk about Riolu right here, who has a 1 energy attack that deals extra damage up to 40 if your opponent is an EX Pokemon. And then we also got new stadiums and supporters that further synergize. So this is going to be the math portion of today's video. Let's hop right into the supporter card that says during this turn, attacks used by your fighting Pokemon do plus 30 damage to your opponent's active EX Pokemon. So let's add that to a maximum of 150 for the Lucario. And now you're hitting 180 on that Lucario with training area. But what if you don't have training area and instead you play the Arena of Antiquity? Well, now you're hitting a maximum of 160, and with Karina it's 190. But what if you throw in a non-EX fighting coach Lucario? Well, now you're smacking your opponent's EX Pokemon, because it has to be an EX to get all these extra bonuses, for a total of 210 damage. You can only have 1 Lucario because you could only play 2 Riolus, and you still need a Riolu to evolve into your Mega Lucario. I mean, if they gave us a Riolu that worked like Eevee, EX, maybe you can get double fighting coaches online. But as of right now, the maximum damage your Mega Lucario can do is going to be 210 if everything goes according to plan. Which brings us to the elephant in the room, and that's Rampardos, who hits your opponent already for 1 energy, deals 130 damage, okay? This is going to be the craziest math in today's video. Now with Arena of Antiquity, you're going all the way up to 150 on an opponent's EX. With Karina as well, you're going up to 180. But now you're not forced to have a Mega Lucario, so you can technically run 2 Fighting Coach Lucarios, which give you an additional 40 damage. So now your Rampardos can literally one-shot almost every single Pokemon, including Mega Pokemon in the game, hitting for 220 for only 1 energy. What? I know a lot of people hate Hydreigon, but I guarantee Rampardos is going to be the new villain in the Pokemon Pocket meta. And honestly, I'm here for it. I love this guy. He is so great. Moving on, we should talk about the Urshifus, who have a very cool ability, double type, meaning they're always going to be the type of the card. This is a darkness, a single strike Urshifu, but it's always also a fighting type that can deal a maximum of 110, right? Again, the math is crazy. Fighting types got the craziest buff in the entire game. So with this guy, a double Lucario brings it all the way up to 150. The new Arena gives it 170 into an EX, and then it goes all the way up to 200 damage for 3 energy on a stage 1 Pokemon. Mind you, this isn't even an EX. However, I think the Urshifu that actually is the best Urshifu has got to be this one with Tornado Shot, mainly because of the pre-evolution. It already ramps a colorless energy for you with its move training something. So with that, if you play just water energy, this is also a fighting type. You can have that double Lucario. So now you're hitting the active 480. You're never going to increase the damage done to the bench Pokemon because both Lucario, Karina, and the new stadium card, they only affect the active Pokemon, being an active EX as an extra condition. So you can at least hit the active for a total of 130 and then snipe something on the bench for an additional 40 and then Cyrus them next game, letting you put 170 damage on the board, which is insane. I think, I think that's enough math for today's video, but fighting types, oh man, they're going to be disgusting this next set, and I'm so here for it. Let me know in the comments how excited you guys are, but let's talk about some other cards that I think are also going to make a lot of people upset. And the first one is Badoo. Can you guys take a quick second after we read this to tell me in the comments why you think this is potentially game breaking? Prickly Powder, 10 damage. The defending Pokemon loses all abilities. This effect lasts until the defending Pokemon leaves the active spot. Well, I think we can just start with, maybe the obvious Hydreigon, right? We go to Hydreigon here and it says Roar of Unison. Once during your turn, you may take 2 darkness energy from your energy zone attached to this Pokemon. Do 30 damage to yourself. It also discards all energy after it Hyper Raise. So if your opponent has a Hydreigon and they use this move, they lose all their energy, and then you hit them with your Badoo, they can't even retreat the following turn because they need 2 energy to retreat. So it's saving you an extra turn. That's one aspect that's going to change the entire meta, that single baby Pokemon. The other aspect is now you don't even really have to worry about this guy anymore. If you're running a full EX deck, just nothing but EXs, and you're worried about Oricorio, as long as your opponent's only playing one Oricorio in their deck, all you have to do is also just tech in a single Badoo. Badoo comes in, hits the Oricorio. It no longer has Safeguard until it retreats. If it retreats, that's a new Pokemon that you can knock out with one of your other Pokemon and gain that price point, maybe 2 price points, maybe 3 if it's a mega Pokemon. So I think personally that this new Pokemon right here is going to bring so much utility and tech to the game. It also just completely stops all the legendary beasts. Suicune, Entei, not that anyone's running Raikou, right? But they can't draw anymore. They're giving you no value. They're just a big, bulky 2 retreat Pokemon in the active spot. And this little Badoo is like, hey, you can't really use your ability until you retreat, which is fantastic. There is a note about this card, though. If it's a Pokemon that evolves, right? As soon as they evolve, they are no longer considered that defending Pokemon. So if they had an ability while evolving, they'll be able to use that ability, right? You can't hit a Dino and then hope it that can't use its Hyper Ray or whatever, the Roar of Unison. It will be able. It is a brand new defending Pokemon when it evolves. That's how this game works. Speaking of Oricorio, I think Bisharp is actually really neat. I'm thinking a Bisharp non-EX deck with Oricorios, maybe 2 of them, as well as something like Gumi could be really nice because you can use your move Night Slash for 2 colorless energy, mind you, hit your opponent for 60 and then switch with one of your bench Pokemon. So if they're running an EX Pokemon, you could stall them with your Oricorio or send in a Gumi and force them to attach another energy and maybe stall them out an extra turn before they can even attack you. So that's really cool. It's a nice little tech card. Speaking of tech cards, all right, I found it. Field Blower. Discard a Pokemon tool card from a Pokemon, yours or your opponent. So this is acting like a better Guzma. I don't think you run Guzma. Like, why? Help me understand why you would run Guzma other than the fact that it discards all tools. That's really strong. But this gives you so much more flexibility into discarding your own tool, maybe even a stadium card in play, because there are so many stadiums right now. So this is very valuable. Imagine you gave yourself a Rocky helmet, but you needed that extra 20 HP from a giant cape. Well, you can discard that Rocky helmet, give yourself giant cape. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of tech and utility with this single card. I might even go as far as to say you have to slot at least one of these into your deck if you are not running a Guzma. this is just going to give you so much value into so many of your matchups. And now let's talk about some of the other EXs that were showcased and shown, mainly Vaporeon, because I think it's the only other one. I think this is a cool card. But I think it runs into the same issue that Umbreon runs into. And it's interesting that they gave this effect to Vaporeon EX. And someone else mentioned this in the comments in the previous video, and they were spot on. I was thinking the same thing. Umbreon is a Cyrus that only works with it in the active spot. And then Vaporeon is a Sabrina that only works with it in the active spot. They also do the exact same damage. The only caveat here is I think if Vaporeon has a little bit more HP, but the 3 retreat cost is really not great. I mean, I think you have to run Lyras in this deck, maybe even Leafs, or something else that can swap out your Pokemon. I guess this would absolutely run with a Greninja EX deck, like a Vaporeon EX and then Greninja, because you're just never going to retreat with this guy. It's too much. You're wasting energy. And at least with Greninja EX, you can swap out the water Pokemon and then do some interesting combos that way. Now, some other not crazy cards that I want to talk about are going to be Emboar Flare Storm. It can deal a maximum of 160, you guys. If you flip 3 heads, let's say you're super lucky and you flip 3 heads. Or if you have a Skeledurge and its ability, what was it? The singing song ability where you discard a fire energy and then deal extra damage. Well, now you're hitting for, what is it? A maximum potential of 210, potentially 260 with 2 fire crocodiles and discarding 2 energies. I know this is a situation that's never going to happen. But again, it's kind of cool that there is a Pokemon that could potentially deal up to 260 damage, and that's knocking out things. That's more than Mega Charizard Y. But you need so many things to go right. You need luck. You need Lady Luck on your side. You need 3 heads. You need 2 Fire Crocs, and you need enough energy. So the likelihood of that happening, not so high, but I'm sure it'll happen at least once, and if it does, hopefully I get it in a video for content. All right, next up are the 2 promo EXs that weren't really included in Pokemon Zone, so I had to find the images and then place them up here. We don't know what the retreat costs are on these guys, so we can assume they're going to be a lot, potentially. They are heavier set Pokemon. I feel like bulkier, slower Pokemon, so they might have higher. But let's talk about Mega Heracross EX being able to one-shot things like Mega Absol, which is fantastic. It does have HP of 180, so I think you have to run Erika's, as well as Lucky Ice Pops and Leaf Capes on this. However, if it has 3 or more retreat, you could potentially run something like a Heavy Helmet on this. Now, Dynamic Horn for 4 energy feels like a lot. But again, you have things like Superior, you have things like Leafeon that can help ramp this guy, and by the time you're ready to get online, 170 damage is a lot of damage. As long as there's nothing that's going to one-shot you, you're good to go. You're getting at least 2 of these off. The only caveat is maybe you also run some Wills in your deck because you have to flip a coin. If Tails, this Pokemon also deals 60 damage to itself. So there is a caveat there. For dealing so much damage, you're going to hurt yourself in return potentially 50% of the time. But I still think 170 is crazy. You could even run this with something like baby Pokemon like Chingling and Badoo and do that whole shenanigans into a Hydreigon matchup where they can't even touch you because of the Badoo says, hey, you don't have enough energy, bro. And then you go into your Mega Heracross and you just wipe the board with them. So there's just so many ways that you could potentially play this guy. I don't think it's terrible. I also don't think it's going to be the most meta breaking thing, but I think it's going to be fun to play. And then the next promo is going to be Zygarde EX. It's not the Mega Zygarde. In the other video, I thought it was, so I called it Mega Zygarde. But it has the move Land Laser, which has 3 fighting energies, and it's 100 damage, but its condition is if you flip heads. If you don't flip heads, it deals 0 damage. So it's kind of not great. It's its own brand for being a promo Pokemon. You know, it's kind of playable to an extent. Everyone remember Ultra Necrozma? Exactly. That's my point. You don't. Because if you don't flip any heads, it deals nothing. But the cool part is, if you do flip heads and you use that extra damage, it could, let's say you hit 2 heads and use Karina and you use the fighting area, right? It's doing a maximum of 250 damage. So like, it might be worth it. This guy could technically come in and knock out things like a Mega Charizard Y or any Mega Pokemon, to be frank. But yeah, there you guys have it. That's us covering every single new card that I think is going to be somewhat viable and honestly worth talking about. With that, guys, let me know in the comments what you think. I'm always excited to hear your guys' opinions, especially before a new set drops. I'm really really excited for Mega Lucario, man, and all these fighting type support Pokemons, and also the inevitable Rampardos coming back into play. But with that, guys, don't forget to like, hype, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.